The Art of Alchemy. Hi, I'm Anne-Margaret, coming to you in some wild jewelry for this week's Sacred Sunday message to raise the vibration of your body, mind, and spirit. So here we are, moving towards the end of another year, and I'm hearing all around me people saying things like, I'm so glad this year is coming to an end, only a few more days. Oh, next year is going to be so different. It's what we do every year, right? We think, oh, next year is going to be so different. It's going to be so great. And what happens is we have the year we have, right? So today's talk, we're going to learn how to become masterful alchemists so that we can, no matter what our circumstances, extract the gold from whatever we're experiencing and learn from it so that we can grow and create more intentionally on this human journey. So thanks for joining me. And it takes courage to practice alchemy because it takes a different relationship to our ego, a letting go that things are bad, that things are broken, that something's wrong. That never results in attracting what we want. In order to create something that we really desire to create, we have to look and extract the gold out of it. We have to see the circumstances, especially when they're really painful, when it's mucky, when it's undesirable. It's in those moments where we can have the greatest growth in our lives if we have the courage to accept, to have faith, and to also be receptive to a new reality. So I wore this jewelry today because it's a very fun and silly example, maybe, or metaphor of what the art of alchemy really is. You could say very simply, and some may disagree with this, that it's simply repurposing. For example, I'm wearing these earrings here, and these earrings I got them in New Orleans, and there is a brewery there called, I think it's called, let me think, I put it in my notes, Abita, is that it? Yes, Abita. And it's a brewing company in Covington, Louisiana. And somebody thought, oh, wouldn't it be cute to take these bottle caps and turn them into earrings? Now, this may not be your example of beautiful jewelry, but somebody thought to use their creative ability to repurpose. Similarly, this necklace was actually my very favorite when I was growing up, and this is my mother's. So whenever she'd wear it, I'd be so fascinated with the little trinkets on there, and that somebody actually used beads and leather and put it together in a necklace. Seemingly discardable items like a piece of wood, like a little tiny shell or a bell, right? A bell. All of these little things to put together to create something that's beautiful. This is what being an artist is, isn't it? It's taking your experience or something that's very challenging in your life, like I know it's so helpful for me to write music or write spoken word, to take something that's unpleasant in your life and create something beautiful out of it. Now, this might not be your idea of beauty, like I said, but it's a great example of how we can take those undesirable circumstances in our lives and extract the gold out of them. So alchemy, if you look into what is alchemy, most oftentimes it's referred to as the purifying or the extraction of value or the maturing of metals. Like, and it can be seen as a magical way. Like, how do you turn lead into gold? And Paulo Coelho wrote a beautiful book called The Alchemist that was released in 1988, published in 1988. And it's a wonderful book, and I've included that in the notes for today's talk, as well as specific oils, essential oils that help with alchemizing or putting you in a vibrational state to extract the gold in your life. And in this book, it is a young shepherd from Spain. His name is Santiago, and he hears about a buried treasure in Egypt. And he decides to make this pilgrimage from Spain to Egypt. And if you know your geography, you know that that's not a simple journey, to find this buried treasure. And what he ends up discovering is rather than finding the wealth outside of him, in the form of buried treasure, he finds that wealth within him through the journey that he goes through the people that he meets, and just the overall experience of recognizing how to extract gold out of anything, not just what we consider to be valuable or valuable material goods. And it's a beautiful story, so I'd recommend reading it. But I think why I wanted to do this talk today is because as we near the end of this year, and we're looking forward to the next one, I started thinking about our obsession that we have with living forever. Like we have these, we're obsessed with vampire movies. We're obsessed with movies like when I grew up, it was Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they were trying to find this ark. And this is also in one of his later movies too, and I think in The Last Crusade, of finding something that can give you eternal life. It's in our movies, it's in our books, it's in our entertainment, and I thought, like, isn't it interesting that we just had such a challenging year where, very soberly, our suicide rate spiked around the world. We have people who are unable to even be with being human anymore because it's so difficult that they chose to end their life. And I thought, well, we have this polarity of people who can't even be in their life, so they end it. And then we have this obsession with this elixir of impermanence, elixir of immortality, when we have a very impermanent existence through this limited human experience. And why do we have this desire to have everlasting life when we can't even master the art of alchemy in what we've got already? So how do we transform the more challenging things that we go through in life so that we can really savor this life? So that we don't get tossed around like being in the ocean waves, being tossed around by our circumstances, but we can extract the value out of the struggle. We can, rather than discard something seemingly insignificant by like what's on this necklace or in my earrings, discard people in our lives. We leave relationships and run to new ones, not realizing that the common denominator of the dysfunctional pattern is us. We run towards a new year, running away from this passing year because we can't wait to get to the new one. But what happens is history repeats itself. Our dysfunctional relationships, our dysfunctional patterns, our dysfunctional way of relating to our health, our dysfunctional eating, it repeats itself. It won't go away until we recognize the gift in the circumstances, in the gift in the struggle, or the gift in the pain. That is true alchemy. So let's look at a formula, a very simple formula for how to be the master in this art of alchemy. First we have to look at our dysfunctional pattern. The dysfunctional pattern is resistance to circumstance. The dysfunctional pattern is thinking that something is discardable, thinking that something is wrong, thinking that there's something broken, rather than recognizing the true role it can play in our lives. If we transform our relationship to those dysfunctional patterns, our lives will magically blow up in ways that we can never imagine. If we relate to those more challenging relationships in our lives as gifts, as opportunities for our own growth, then we can extract the lessons from them, grow, and attract better relationships, more harmonious or symbiotic relationships in our life. But first, we have to recognize our dysfunctional relationship to thinking that they're wasteful, they're discardable, just ignoring them or not dealing with those unpleasant experiences or circumstances. So, very first step in this formula to the art of alchemy is acceptance. The first thing, acceptance. Why is acceptance so critical? It's dealing with reality. It's accepting reality. It's saying, okay, these are my circumstances, but we must also accept our own creative power. These are the circumstances. and I have the ability to alchemize them to my capacity, my creative ability to alchemize, to extract the gold. So it's accepting not only circumstances, but it's also accepting yourself as a creator. Step number 2, we have to have faith. It is not something that is just a fluffy aspect of life. Our faith determines our belief system, and our belief system shapes our reality. So if we don't have faith, if we do not see through those glasses where God is in everything, where everything that we are faced with is for our own growth, is a gift, rather than putting ourselves in that self-victimizing archetype of seeing that some life is happening to us, that these unpleasant circumstances are so unpleasant and they're happening in this year, and why can't we just move on and have different circumstances? We have to have faith. We have to have faith seeing this as being gifted by God, being gifted by the universe, being gifted by your higher self. Whatever you want to believe is your choice, but your belief system is either positively empowering you or negatively disempowering you to see it as just lead or extracting gold. So accepting you're the creator, that's step 1. Step 2 is faith, your belief system. And step 3 is receptivity. All right, so we have acceptance, faith, and receptivity. Step 3 requires an egoic death. We have to be willing to be wrong about what we thought we were so right about. If we are willing to be wrong, something new can emerge, something new beyond our limited scope of seeing, our limited perspective. Think about a relationship. We have to be willing to be wrong about what we thought we were so right about the other person for them to emerge in a different way. Those 3 steps are so critical because, especially that third one, receptivity, it takes us out of polarity, this way or that way. No, that's polarizing. Black or white. What about all the gray? What about the third perspective that I talk about all the time? It's not just my perspective, their perspective. There is a third perspective. And if we are receptive, we'll see it. And in seeing it, that's when we can extract the gold. So we go from a very dysfunctional pattern of resistance, of seeing things as broken, as seeing things as wasteful. We see things as undesirable rather than recognizing the gift. We go from that disempowering pattern to an empowering one, an empowering way of seeing life as a gift. The empowering pattern of falling in love with the struggles of life. Can you imagine? Like a video game, like a challenge, like a sports game. Oh, I have this challenge before me. How exciting. I have a riddle, a puzzle before me. Let's go solve it. Let's figure it out. Let's extract the gold out of this. Let's figure out how to solve this. As kids, we love these kind of puzzles. We love them. And as adults, we're like, I just want to do what I want to do and not be bothered anymore. That's how we lose our youthful perspective. That's how we lose our childhood wisdom to play life as a game rather than just suffer through it. So as we end this year, can you use this final few days of this year, or whatever it is, ending a relationship, ending a job, whatever it is, how can you fall in love with the struggle? How can you fall in love with the challenge? How can you fall in love with that journey of being human so that you can extract the gold out of it? I know it's challenging. I'm human too, remember, right? But how can you be the alchemist? How can you master the art of alchemy so that history doesn't repeat itself, that your dysfunctional patterns don't keep in place, that you can accept, have faith, and be receptive to a new journey, a new reality, and you'll see the gold. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you need more support, I have one-on-one coaching. Obviously, I channel as well. Sliding scale. Share the video with those who need it. And until next time, have courage and keep raising the vibration. All right. Bye, everybody.